Okay, we are live. Welcome to this special streaming session, Ask the Pro. Today, our guest is Nayarit Bricenyo, owner of BW&T Business Advisors, Inc. She is a CPA and enrolled agent that represents taxpayers with IRS resolution. Welcome, Nayarit, and thank you so much for sharing with us today.
No, thank you for having me, Melissa. Thank you for the invitation.
And before we get started, I just want to encourage you that are watching to use the chat for any questions you might have. This is the time to take advantage of the expert when it comes to taxes. It comes to things like this with the CARES Act. She's going to have a lot of great information. So just any questions you have, just post it in the chat. So Nayarit, let's start with a brief intro about your firm and the services you offer.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Nayarit Bricenyo, and I have a kind of a boutique firm in Miramar, Florida. We do everything as whatever accounting firm does, a little bit of accounting, bookkeeping, tax resolution, tax planning, of course, the tax return filings, and we do a lot of, advising on immigration support, whatever packages that you need to apply for an immigration visa. Mm-hmm. And also tax resolution is one of the areas that we do a lot. Mm-hmm. And everything that has to be mainly with taxes. I'm a tax accountant, primarily. Right. And we're here to serve you. Awesome. You got the numbers. I also encourage people to go and visit my website.
Yes, and I have the phone number. You'll see it on the bottom here. Take note of the phone number, and their Instagram is Your Biz Compass. And you can feel free to get in touch with them as well after this broadcast. So our topic today is the CARES Act, and there's so much information out there. And we wanted to ask the pro what information you have for us today, what we can benefit from as small businesses, as individuals. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and share whatever information you have. And as I said before, post questions, and we'll be having those answered today in this session.
Sure. The CARES Act actually stands for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. It was enacted after the pandemic. We were victim of the pandemic here in the United States. Yes. And the main thing is to help people to keep afloat during these times of, hardship. I'm going to go and focus today not on the CARES Act per se, but to the areas that affect small businesses and individuals. And with all this, new aids and relief, and they being, that they've been listening into the mainstream and through the websites and through the social media. So what I'm going to start is focusing a little bit of the relief and the help that individuals are receiving through the IRS and also through the SBA. And also the relief for small businesses through the SBA. And, with this second round, I'm not going to talk about the first round that it was exhausted in 13 days. I'm going to talk about the recently approved $320 billion bill that they just got on April 21, and it's going to be effective tomorrow.
Okay.
So, so what I want to focus this next minute is, let's talk about the individuals. There are a lot of people are concerned about what the IRS is, they sending the money that they're sending to help people to go by. It means that for individuals that are singles, the $1,200 check or direct deposit they're not receiving, or they will be receiving. I'm going to ask people to be patient with, that, because I don't think that any system, any technological system will be able to handle all this volume. So if you go to the IRS and in the section that says go to payment, and you see and you fill out the questions, and you see that they send you a message saying that you are either, they cannot, find the eligibility, or they cannot find anything, please do not discourage. You have to see and visit this at least once a day, because they are updating the system daily. Okay. Most of the people that apply for they are eligible are the ones that fills the criteria.
Okay.
It means that they filed their taxes for 2018 or 19, which is, if you haven't filed yet, don't get nervous. They're going to calculate your relief check based on your 2018. If you haven't filed 2018 and you think that you're eligible, go and file 2019 and then deal with 2018. But
Okay.
be up to date. And if you haven't received anything as of yet, don't think that you're not eligible. The IRS started issued checks yesterday. So it will take a couple of months for everybody to be able to have their aid, but don't discourage. Unless you're not eligible, don't discourage. They're sending the money.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, great. And where did you say they would actually go to apply, or that's automatic? You're saying that
That
that's
is
automatically.
automatic.
Okay.
There's a lot of people asking questions regarding, oh, where do I have to apply for that help? No, you don't have to apply. You need either to be current with your filing of your taxes. If you haven't filed, I repeat this, if you haven't filed the 2019 tax return, but you filed already your 2018, you will be receiving the help. The
Okay.
thing is that we don't know what are the guidelines for depositing the money or send the money yet.
Okay.
We don't know. We don't know if it's because of your last name, it's because of your location. We don't know. But
Okay.
the aid is going. So please make sure to, if you have any concerns, to visit the website for the IRS, irs.gov, and they got clear guidelines in 24 languages. So please
Okay.
go there and be careful with the scams,
Okay.
because there's a lot of scams out there.
Yeah, I've been seeing that, and I think on that IRS website, they're also showing some of the scams that are out there.
Yes.
Pointing those out. So we just need to be careful, because a lot of the emails that are coming in trying to take advantage of getting people's social security numbers and information, we need to be very careful. I think you were mentioning something about that as well. IRS is not going to send you an email.
No, they're not going to send you emails. They're not going to call you. They're not going to send you texts. And you have to be very careful. The other population that I think is very, very vulnerable are retirees. They're trying to take advantage of the retirees, saying, hey, you need to file the tax returns, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't.
Okay.
If you're receiving Social Security retirement, if you are receiving railroad retirement, you don't need to be worried about even register on the non-filers page, because the government knows where to find you.
Okay.
I mean, the only way that you are able to not, use the non-filers tool is if you change your address and you didn't notify the IRS, but you notify the Social Security, or you change your bank account. That's it. Okay? And don't run and take your parents or your grandparents to file a tax return, because they don't need to. Okay? Just with the fact that they are only receiving Social Security funds, the government will send them the aid. So you don't have to go and worry about
But
that.
what if their bank account changed? Where
They have to use the non-filer tool. They have to go and use the non-filer tool. Also, whoever is listening to this and have college students that they're being claiming in your tax return, those college students between age of 18 and 24, they're not eligible, even if they're going to the non-filer tool and file for a tax return. They're not eligible. The government do not consider them, unfortunately, because they're willing to get another credit, or their parents are willing to get credits like an American Opportunity Credit in their tax returns. So that population got out of the scope. Unfortunately, we don't know why, but that population got out of the scope.
Okay. Okay, great. Can you talk a little bit about the unemployment benefits?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, Melissa, we are in the worst state for unemployment benefits. I was reading yesterday an article out of the Washington Post saying that we are considered the worst state for unemployment benefits.
Wow.
What I tell the people out there is, please do not discourage, keep applying. The application is totally, it wastes you. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. it doesn't help you out to fill out the application for the process. Is not easy. Keep going, and keep applying. If you cannot apply online, download the paper application, fill it out by paper, mail it out. File, by fax, but send the application. Don't discourage. Unfortunately, you have to keep trying. There's nothing that we can do.
FedEx yesterday, and I noticed that FedEx had a number of envelopes with the application in there. And so it seemed to be
FedEx and UPS and the United States Postal Service. It does have too. So very, very important. Do not discourage. Another thing is that people who are independent contractors, means that their earnings are based on 1099s because they are considered self-employees. Even though the Florida statute, said that those kind of people should be contributing to the unemployment fund, they can apply for unemployment or for reemployment in this case, in our state. So please go and apply and don't discourage. Keep trying.
So Angela Lane is asking, it says UI Connect is not connected with DEO, unemployment. Do I have to apply at both?
DEO is the agency from the Florida Department of Revenue that handles unemployment. The Florida Department of Labor created that agency because they are trying to trying to relieve the burden of, a lot of people applying for reemployment and trying to, guide to a separate department. Let's call it that way. If you are as independent contractor, like I said, apply for the DEO. The DEO has the unemployment application online, and they can have paper. So apply them both if you need to.
Okay.
Whatever, it can be processed faster.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so let's get into the benefits for the small businesses and what's out there. What is the federal government offering?
Yes. Now, the first batch was exhausted in 13 days. And people started to complain all over the United States saying, hey, listen, I'm a small business. I didn't get a piece of the pie. So because of those complainings and a lot of people saying, hey, listen, I applied for PPP loans, but I haven't got any answer yet. Of course, remember, PPP loans, which is one of the benefits or one of the loans offered by the SBA, I think they was exhausted in less than 13 days. The reason is that they start advertising it as free money, which is not, first of all. Second of all, the lenders that were in charge of processing all these PPP loans are the same banking institutions that you deal with every day. They know what your accounts are. They know how much is your cash flow. So they know they have to pass this through their underwriters. So even though they advertise this as a free money, it's not going to be free money because you're still going to be liable for, or you have to pay the interest that, even though it's at 1%, you have to pay the interest that they incurred by this loan. And the forgiveness part, which is make them believe that it's free money, it's going to be through the guidelines of the SBA. It's not through the guidelines of the lending institution. So it's pretty confusing. But the people who apply for the first batch of the PPP loans, keep applying, keep waiting and follow up with the application. For the new guys that the fundings are going to be released tomorrow. For the new small business that wants to apply for PPP loans, they can now apply through lenders like Square, Intuit through QuickBooks, and PayPal. They're going to start advertising that you can apply PPP through them.
And that's great to hear, because places like Wells Fargo, they stopped taking applications in a couple of days.
No, the same thing with Chase and Bank of America.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a huge tip that you could give to these people that are watching, because going to the big banks, you're probably not going to get the help you need because they are overrun with applications.
Absolutely.
So
start preparing the application. I'm going to give you a tip. I'm going to upload these applications on my website later, but The application form for the Paycheck Protection Program is Form 2483. You can Google it, and they can give you the PDF form. Download it, prepare the form in writing, calculate the payroll. If you don't have payroll, do not waste your time, because this is going to be taken into consideration. When you apply for the PPP loan, they're going to process this application, but after that, the underwriting departments of every lending institution is going to ask you for forms. The forms that are based, these PPP loans are going to be W-2s and 941s and 940s for prior years. So if you don't have payroll, do not go and apply for PPP, even if they say that you can use it for lease and mortgage interest and utilities. Please don't do that, because one of the guidelines that in one of the webinars that I attended in the past few weeks is that they are very encouraging people that do not have their record keeping or do not have the records in good standing, do not apply for these kind of loans, because at the end, they're going to ask for compliance. All these loans are going to ask for compliance. So I will encourage people in this case to go and seek other options, like the economic or emergency loans that are in the SBA website.
So we're going to get into that, but just to just repeat, you said the PPP loan application form is
sure. The form is the form 2483.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat for everyone. We did have a question that came in from Andriana. We received an email from the bank telling us we have to wait for new funds. Do we have to fill a new application out?
I believe not. I will follow up with the application you previously submitted. I don't think that you have to apply again or submit a new application, because it will be confusing. So if the bank already sent you that they are waiting for funds, it's probably that you are kind of a pre-approved. So I will say no.
Okay.
I will say to keep your application and follow up with that.
And one conversation that we had before, back to the PPP loan, a good thing to do would be to open up a new bank account, clean, so that they can deposit the money in there. That way you don't have things getting mixed up with other bills, and it'll get confusing.
Not only that, let me explain you something that probably your bank is not telling you. And I will encourage people to consult with their CPAs or their financial advisors or their tax accountants. Please consult with them. It's not only asking questions like, am I eligible for help? No, it's like, how can I improve my accountability for these kind of loans? And one of the things I encourage people to do is to open a separate bank account, because that way you're able to comply and vouch for all the transactions that you paid, of course, payroll, because it's a payroll protection plan. You can ask your payroll company or your accountant to start paying the payroll and payroll taxes out of that account with the new funding. So if you are approved for a PPP loan, my advice is go to the bank, the same bank you're banking with, open a second account, and the banking will fund that loan to that account. Then you are willing to vouch for each transaction, and your forgiveness process will be easier. Okay? And remember, prioritize that loan with payroll. Do not start paying other stuff. Do not start paying your cars. Do not start paying credit cards or other loans. Please use that as strictly for paying payroll. That is one of the things that you have to be aware of.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move on to the economic injury disaster loan. What exactly is that, and what is it good for?
Absolutely. The economic injury disaster loan was recently added to all the distress loans or the disaster loans that the SBA has. These disaster loans are always existed, just for you to know. Existed for people who has business in critical areas like we are, that got hit with hurricanes or got hit by tornadoes or got hit with flooding. So these already are created. The thing is that they added to the coronavirus relief the economic injury disaster loans because everybody has been in an economic disaster in this area. So what I'm doing is, if you have a small business, if you are an investor in real estate, let's say that you are a landlord and have several properties in real estate. If you have the properties onto your name, shame on you, by the way, you need to do better tax planning. But if you happen to have those properties onto your name, you can still apply by filling out the forms that appears in the website. I'm going to give you the form numbers because you can also download it and, in PDF and fill it out. And for that specific people, we're going to talk about filling up form 5C, which are U.S. Small Business Administration Disaster Home / Sole Proprietor Loan Application. And remember, real estate is a huge appeal for this SBA. If you have real estate, they're going to be like seals applauding because they got something to grab if you forfeit the loans.
Okay.
But I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk the advantages. So if you're a landlord, have several properties, and let's say that you are having the properties on an LLC or a corporation, you have to use Form 5, not the 5Cs. 5Cs is if you have the investment onto your own name. But if you have investment on companies, use the Form 5, just that like that. I'm going to upload in my website later on the package for both, for all the loans, for loans for PPP and for loans for, for economic injury disaster loans. Okay. Those are not, those loans can be forgivable. They're not yet. They can, but they're not. I mean, the SBA is not advertising that yet. Okay. But our loans that even though that if you have to pay them, it's going to be to a very small interest rate. They were starting from 3.75 before this new batch. I don't know how is the going to be now, but listen to this. If you can apply for a loan for $200,000 loan, your payments will be less than $600 a month. Wow. So it's very manageable. It will give you some working capital to play with. So I'm encouraging people not to go and concentrate too much to the PPPs because the PPPs is for specific type of thing. The other loans is to help you to keep afloat. It will not only give you the opportunity to have some extra capital, working capital, but it will help you to keep, afloat. Okay. So that's, and of course you have to have all the accounting records good. I'm sorry.
So that's the economic injury disaster loans.
Correct.
And yes. Where do you go to apply for those? With
SBA.Gov. Okay. Yes, that is not going through financial institutions. That's going through the guidelines of the SBA. Okay. So, but I mean, the process is a little bit longer than the PPP, but it worth the time worth, waiting. Okay. Also, the SBA created what they call small bridge loans. What they do is like while you're applying for this type of economic injury disaster loans, they advance you $25,000 right now. Once you apply and they got your application and they approve your application, they're going to advance you $25,000 towards the main amount that you apply for. Okay. Okay. And that will keep you afloat for a little bit. And if you see, it will substitute part of your PPP too. Okay. Okay.
All right. And so you said the bridge loans are about how much interest?
The economic injury disaster loans is starting with start with an interest rate of 3.75. Okay. I mean, that was the last information we got from the SBA.Gov, but I'll encourage people also to visit the SBA.Gov page. Do not go to, Google it and see what is new in the news because you got a lot of information that is misinformation as well. So I always encourage to go to the source, and the sources are those: SBA.Gov, IRS.Gov. Those are your best source, and always consult with your tax advisor or your CPA or your enrolled agent.
Okay, and I want to remind those that are watching, please go ahead and chat your questions so that Nayarit will be able to answer the questions live while we're here. It's not often that you get to sit down with a CPA and ask your question. So now is the time while we have her.
I'm on a kind of a teacher, so
Yes,
take advantage of this so I
take
can
advantage of that.
explain, a little bit. By the way, thank you for for watching this,
Mhm.
live stream. It's
Yes,
been a pleasure to educate. It's
yes,
more like advising, educating
yes.
the
It's
public.
great. So let's just talk about the Express Bridge loan.
Okay.
What is the status of that?
The express bridge loan, like I said before, it's if it's through the SBA, it's going to be an advancement of up to $25,000 if you apply for an economic injury disaster loan.
Mhm.
The main thing about it is to keep you afloat while the application is getting processed. Because imagine it's a million of applications going through 2,500 underwriters in the SBA.
Mhm.
So it for me, if it's my particular opinion, I don't know, probably 10,000 tax advisors are going to say the contrary. But for me now, the best way to go for small businesses is concentrate to apply on the economic disaster loans instead of applying for other, like PPP and such. The state of Florida created a bridge loan too. I think it's a little bit exaggerating about the amount of interest they charge in 12% interest.
Okay.
And it's too much. I mean, any line of credit, if you apply for for any line of credit for that same amount, it's going to be like between 6 to 7% in any financial institution. So it's like created for not to apply. But anyways, I said again, I encourage people to go and apply for the economic disaster injury loans because the mainstream think that these type of loans are for big businesses. No,
Yeah.
they're for small businesses as well.
Yes.
Okay.
We definitely need to take advantage of them because
Yes.
there are companies that are, they're doing very well and they're getting funding as we see in the
I
news
know.
every day.
The thing is that Melissa,
Yeah.
you have to understand the criteria for the underwritings. I mean, the reason that you are through a crisis, it doesn't mean that the other underwriting criteria of the lending institution is going to vary. You're going to see that a lot of people who are getting the money is because they got monies in the bank. And
Yes.
you said how unfair it is because I need the
That's
money because my business is hurting and I'm not taking into consideration. Well, that's something that we cannot vary.
Yeah.
The other thing is the SBA is very strict with
Mhm.
their applications. And please, I'm encouraging people to be in compliance in your business. Even if you have your record by hand, I don't care because people think that I'm promoting using any software. No, even if you have a little notebook that you bought in the dollar store,
Mhm.
okay, and you fill the records by hand, it's okay. But keep the records very, very thorough because when
Something is better
the
than
SBA will start asking for
Mhm.
records, you are able to furnish the records immediately and not start like running around like the chicken without a head,
Yeah.
or
Trying to
trying to
find
bite your
everything.
tail,
Trying
trying
to
to organize things that are not being organized since the beginning, right?
So I did have a question that came in from
Sure, sure.
Adriana. Um, and and I think I saw this as well. The PPP, that a small percentage of it, she said, can 25% of the PPP be used for rent and utilities? That's what I read. And
Absolutely, but let me answer your question with this question. Do
Mhm.
you think that you apply for that to pay your payroll, right? Because that is what it says, Paycheck Protection Program. Do
Yeah.
you think that you're going to still have 25% left over about those funds to pay for rent and utilities?
Okay.
No, unless you apply as an independent contractor.
Uh,
And although if you apply as an independent contractor, you got guidelines that are not clear about the applications for PPP loans as independent contractors, because one side says that you have to, file a Schedule C, which is when you get a 1099 to your own name, you file a section of the tax return regarding it's like a profit and loss, and they're going to lend you the net amount. We're
mhm.
not clear about that yet. So
Okay.
even though the application, and you can read the instructions and said that 25% of that could be used for rent and utilities. Yes, that's not false. It's true. But
Mm-hmm.
think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you're going to be able to get 25% out of after you pay your payroll?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with what you read, because sometimes it's like, it's forgivable up to this
Right.
up to it's these two letters could
Mhm.
mean a lot at the end. So
Okay.
yes, it's not false. It's true. You can use to up to 25% to pay rent and utilities,
But
but after you pay your
your
payroll,
payroll.
not before,
Exactly. So
after.
after.
Okay? Yes, that's very important to understand.
So Angela Lane also wants to confirm there's three types of loans: the PPP, the economic injury, and the bridge.
Yes,
Any
the
other
bridge
type?
loans, they were recently added to the SBA website.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it was added, and this is my personal opinion again. I mean, everything that I'm saying here is what Nayarit Bricenyo think and analyze and understand about all this crazy law,
Right.
is that the EIDL and bridge loans, the bridge loan was created only for give people peace of mind that they're going to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw and I read on the website is that they're going to advance you up to $25,000 when you apply for an emergency injury loan, disaster loan.
Okay.
Okay, it's like the way that here's the money. Before, like a month ago, they were talking about giving $10,000 grant to each business.
Oh my goodness.
After that, they noticed
Changed
that
it.
a lot of people apply
Mm-hmm.
online, and they decided to change the games of the rules of the game, saying, "Oh, no, it's not going to be a grant anymore. It's going to be an advance, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be 10,000. We're going to give you $1,000 per employee."
Mm-hmm.
I applied myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I got 9 employees, and I'm
Yeah.
still waiting for my $9,000 to come in my bank, and it hasn't come. So
Right.
you know what I'm saying is like, unfortunately, it's confusing, but what I'm saying is try to go with the round that more fits you.
Right.
Okay?
So there's another question that came in from Claudia Rodriguez.
Yes.
I know some realtors that have applied for the PPP program. If there is not a company like a PA, are they eligible as self-employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes. Even if you have a PA or an LLC, you're also eligible to PPP program based on the average commission that you receive in a month or in a period. Especially, they're going to ask for a 1099s or a group of 1099s for prior year, which is 2019.
Mm-hmm.
If you are receiving a Schedule K1, make sure that whoever is doing your taxes check that is not a passive activity, it's an activity that you participate in, which makes the earnings ordinary. What does that mean? That is what you use to live for. So people who are not, who are under PAs or under LLCs, apply for the PPP loan. Remember, you're under the guidelines of the financial institution, but don't discourage, you can do it. Okay?
Okay. So everyone needs to just go back to the SBA website to see
Yes.
what all of the eligibility is.
Yes.
Specifically for real estate agents, what could you name as some of the eligibility requirements?
Well, if they are self-employed, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they're probably going to ask you, if you file the Schedule C with your 1040, which is your normal federal income tax returns, you need to show the Schedule C. The Schedule C is where you put your 1099s and then you deduct your expenses, and then you have a portion of net earnings that are subject to self-employment taxes.
Okay.
That portion of net earnings that are subject to a self-employment tax, which is contributions towards the Social Security and Medicare,
Mm-hmm.
is what they're going to take consideration for the PPP.
Okay. Okay.
It's not, the guideline is not out there. They're saying that they might be the guideline because they're not going to take your whole 1099 when you have business expenses that you have to get, to write off that whole gross income. Is the
Okay.
net income what they're going to do or going to take into consideration. For people who has PAs and
Mhm.
they are S corps and receiving K1s, Schedule K1s, which are basically showing the net earnings,
Mhm.
make sure that those K1 says that is an active, I mean, not a passive activity. It has to be an ordinary income activity.
Okay.
And that amount is what you're going to put on your PPP application.
I see.
Average. Okay.
Okay, very good. And we have another question, and we're about to wrap up, but keep the questions coming in so that we can take advantage of Nayarit's expertise and
Thank
make
you.
sure that everybody leaves having their questions answered. So Andriana asked, is that first grant going to be part of the PPP? First supposed grant going to be part of the PPP?
Yes. Do you remember, like I said, like once upon a time when we started applying with this, they
Mhm.
were only three buttons at the SBA, and they say $10,000 grant. There's
Okay.
not a grant anymore. They're going to consider that in advance of any of the loans that you're applying. Let's say that you're applying for the grant. They gave you the $10,000, but you also apply for the PPP loan. And
Mhm.
then they're going to say, okay, you're approved for $20,000, but we gave you an advance of 10. So
Right.
we're going to fund you only for 10.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, that's no longer considered a grant. That is considered an advance,
Okay. All right.
unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So, any other questions? Feel free to just add it to the chat so we can have Nayarit answer that. And what else can you give us today regarding what's available? Any other tips that you can give us?
I mean, as of now, because they're not, I mean, they approved the new $320 billion bill on the 21st, and it's going to be effective tomorrow. So
Okay.
if you are, for instance, you have QuickBooks Online or you have any type of Intuit instrument, they're offering now PPPs application through them.
Okay.
Square is also offering PPP applications. So go and apply if you need to.
Yeah, that's better than the big banks because you're not
Yes.
getting anywhere.
If you have small credit unions, you bank with small credit unions because you don't bank with big banks. Call your credit union, go to their websites to see how they're going to handle the PPP applications and apply. They got a new chunk. It's not the $320 billion, by the way. The
Mhm.
chunk for loans are going to be only 60 billion. So this chunk is going to be exhausted faster than the first one.
Okay.
The other thing I'm going to encourage you is to evaluate which is better for your business. If you are qualifying for a PPP, or it's better for you to apply for an EIDL loan, even if you have to repay that, like I said,
Mhm.
just take in $200,000 as an example.
Mhm.
If you take $200,000 at 3.75% interest, that it will be a payment of less than $600 a
Right.
month.
Right.
So your business can handle that. I guarantee that you can handle that.
Yeah.
But
That's a great way.
compare what you need and apply. That's
Yeah,
all
that's
I
a
need
great
to
way to
say.
get back on your feet, especially at this time.
Mhm.
Valeria is asking, just needs clarification on the PPP program because you said, and everybody knows it's really confusing.
It is.
So the bank will charge a fee and interest
Yes,
fee
they will.
are also being charged. Okay.
Yes, they are. In fact, when they talk about forgiveness, they talk about forgiveness of the principal of the loan up to 100%, but not 100%. They're not saying 100% is forgivable. No, they can forgive you up to 100% of the loan, but we're talking about principal. You still have to repay the bank for cost and interest. When
Yeah.
they talk about deferments, remember, when I defer something, it's like I cannot pay right now, that they're going to charge everything that I couldn't pay when the deferment is over. So when
Right.
they ask you, for instance, oh, you can have a deferment of not paying for a year. Yes, you cannot pay for a year, but remember,
Yeah.
those interests are accruing, so
Yeah.
they're going to be charged.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yes.
and the other thing is, yes, the bank will charge interest, fees, and all the kind of costs that they deem necessary.
Mhm.
And remember what I said. If you're being approved for a PPP loan, open a separate account so you can vouch for everything you spend that money for.
I think
Okay.
the best advice you could give is that it's just going to make it so much easier, because if you have your regular account with so many things going in and out, that's going
Absolutely.
to be really hard to prove that the funds are being allocated the way it should be. So
Not only that, it's
account,
more difficult to get commingled with other expenses. And
mhm,
the more commingling you do, the possibility of not being approved for forgiveness is very high.
yes,
So I appreciate that you please be,
yes,
very, very cautious with that and open a secondary account.
clear cut. So we
Okay.
have another question that came in from Abraham. What about property manager businesses?
Uh, Actually, property management businesses are based on fees charged on rents. And remember, I already talked about landlords, but
Mhm.
if you're a property manager, it depends of how your income is reported. If you report your income through a K1, like I said, you have to apply for a PPP based on the K1 of last year. And they're going to ask you about income during these current periods,
Okay.
okay, to see the downfall of that. But they have to calculate average. How are they going to, how much are they going to pay? Are they going to lend you?
Mhm.
For property manager business are like any other self-employment or independent contracting individuals. So they
Yes.
have to apply based on either 1099s, Schedule Cs, or Schedule K1s, basically.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. All right. So everyone watching, you have any other questions, put them into the chat so we can get Nayarit to answer your questions. In the meantime, as we wrap up, how can people just get their business organized and, in a place where they can improve and grow their business? What is your suggestion?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say unfortunately, when people, are opening businesses, the last thing on their minds are attorneys and accountants,
Mhm.
because they're trying to put all the energy and effort and money into grow that business. And
Yes.
I understand that. I'm not encouraging to go and get, Price Waterhouse Coopers as your accountant, but not, I mean, try to get people that know what they're doing. You can do your own bookkeeping. You can do that if you have time. If you don't have time, please hire somebody who can help you organize your records. If you want to use, technology, any software, the most popular is QuickBook because it's very, very easy, and it's so easy that everybody think that because they know QuickBooks, they're accountants. No, remember, we are here to advise you where to put the things.
Right.
But use a technology. If you don't have technology, use an Excel spreadsheet, but keep your records very, very organized. I
Yes.
mean, when you have a clean record, you can be, asking for more investments. You can call investors to invest with you. You can get, leverage from the banks. You can apply for credit cards. You can apply for, loans, small loans, line of credit. But the record keeping and compliance is very important for the business. Budget, plan. When you plan in advance, it's better. You are willing, when you're planning and budgeting,
Yeah.
you're willing to get all contingencies out of your way because you have the cushion that you need. So
Yes. Yes.
that's
Absolutely.
the only thing that I can tell you. And
Awesome.
consult with experts always. I'm not an expert. I'm not consider myself an expert,
You are an
but
expert. I've worked
but
with you
no,
for
it's,
years.
I'm trying to help people of what my knowledge can be, because I mean, remember, legal language is very hostile.
Yeah.
Tax language is very hostile. You
Yes.
can read and interpret whatever you are, capable of, but sometimes you're not looking up to little words that tells you otherwise, like the up to, quote
Yes.
unquote. And be careful and always try to consult somebody who is willing to help you. Get, your attorney in line, get your CPAs in line, and you know what, we're always ready to help.
Exactly. Well,
Okay.
Nayarit, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And those that are watching, Nayarit and her staff is always available. You see the number on the screen, 954-443-1594. She's more than happy to assist you and help you
Absolutely.
through this process with any questions that you have. Thank you again, Nayarit, for.
No, thank you, Melissa, to have me.
Yes, it was great having you. And if you want to, continue getting information such as this, please go to our website and also, like our page on Facebook at the Melissa Miller Group. We always want to provide information for everyone and make sure that people's questions are answered. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone have a wonderful day. And
You too.
we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.